mouth right now.
Good evening. Welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network. How's everybody doing tonight? Well, I guess they're all dead tonight. Awesome. So I guess it's just going to be me and three stiffs. I didn't know we were playing Weekend Bernie's again. Dang it. All right. So first off, I want to take time to thank Jake and Ryan at Patriot Patch Company, patriotpatch.co, for their bandwidth sponsor. Oh, crap, I gotta move that press. It's blocking the first part of Patriot. Dang it. I'm a failure. I'm just gonna have to go home and cry. Oh, I am home. I don't think I want to cry. But I will cry because the beer fridge is empty of good beer. Son of a biscuit! So I got hard cider and hard soda. And that's it. Damn it. I'm only drinking that crap. See, that's what happens. If you're going to have friends that are going to give you liquor, make sure they're going to give you good liquor, not crap. So, I also want to take time to thank Sean and the gang over at Firearms Radio Network for giving us a place to hang out every week. So, really haven't done much for the most part. Although Travis and I did get on last night and do a little giveaway. So,
yeah, I noticed that. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
FW Arms.
Yep. Did a giveaway and then announced 3 more giveaways and how you could enter those. Travis, do you remember?
You can go onto the Facebook page, not the group. Go to the Facebook page. All you need to do is put hashtag FWArms. You can go on Instagram and put the same hashtag FWArms. And I think the third was send us an email.
Nope. Instagram?
Oh, MeWe.
Yep.
Go over to MeWe and put the hashtag FWArms.
Yep.
And as I understand it, hosts are ineligible to enter.
Always.
Ain't that awful?
Well, you got to pay the price.
I have more fun doing this.
So, Jim, what you been up to?
Well, I ran 50 rounds of 40 S&W cast bullet, 145 grain semi-wad cutter over chronograph yesterday.
Did they do a good time in the 40 since you were running them?
Yeah. They're averaging about 1,000 feet per second, somewhere between 950 and 1,000 feet per second. A little over, a little under. It fluctuates, just like factory ammo does. But my goal is to put 100 rounds of that over top of chronograph, and then run 100 rounds through my Glock, just for the sake of having that data with that particular ammo.
All right. Can anybody hear my keyboard? Because I can't tell.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Travis and I both can.
All right. So then I need to mute when I'm typing too. So, all right. Travis, what you been up to?
Let's see. On Saturday, I shot a 3-gun match. I also got a little Annie annihilator coming to me. So we started doing some annealing stuff with that, and pretty excited. Phil, what did you do?
I helped air condition my dad's reloading shed.
Well, that's reloading related.
I certainly,
Distantly.
I certainly counted it. My pops is he's reached this reloading shed has seen a couple of setbacks, but we're finally getting to the point where he's like just about ready to get a bench in there and get his stuff mounted down and start cranking out rounds. And part of what had to happen was we had to find some way to get it to where he could tolerate Louisiana temperatures inside that shed for more than 15 minutes at a time.
Did you and Carl insulate the shed?
It is insulated. It has finished walls. It has a
Good.
solid floor. It's because I've been popping in on him as the construction was getting done, and there's a portion of it he and I've done together, and then there's a lot of it he contracted out. But it's built like a miniature house. I mean, it's got bats of insulation at that thick. So
Good.
we got a 6,000 BTU air conditioning unit in that little shed, and I think it'll pretty much spit ice cubes at him if he wants it to.
Good. Yeah, because I know this North Carolina heat, it's murder. It's not even hot yet, and I've seen 100 degrees, 102 degrees this year.
Well, this past week the heat index has been bumping 100 to 105 almost every day. So it's it's hot enough that even me being 36, the temperature is borderline unbearable.
Yep. Okay, Mike, I think he said he didn't do much this week. I know what a couple things I forgot to put in the show notes. Number one, I unboxed a Neeley's, and Travis, since you got the Annie Annealer coming, we'll do reviews on that. Chris Sharp, this is a shout out to you. Hang on, buddy, hang on. I'm going to take and run some brass through the Neeley's, and Travis is going to run some through his Annie Annealer. Go ahead, Travis.
Sounds like he already jumped the gun. He's got one of the Annies coming too.
Oh, I thought I didn't realize he had it coming.
But it's going to be exciting to see. You do some and I do some, and we compare our findings on that.
Right.
We'll probably have to get together and do the same cases and try to get as close to the same, test bed. I think, but we'll figure that all out later.
I plan on annealing some 308 machine gun brass. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to be working that stuff pretty hard to get it back down with my full length resizing die from machine gun sizes. And after I resize it, I'll take and anneal it. Resize and decap it. I will anneal it.
Yeah, I'm planning on annealing everything I can get my hands on down here.
Yeah, well, it's not a bad plan. Only thing is, that much heat or that long, it's going to put quite a bit of heat in your basement. Of course, up there in Idaho, you're all up in the mountains. It's a little heat wouldn't hurt you.
Oh, it's hot.
Hot or humid?
Hot.
Okay.
We get real hot and we get real cold.
I know that.
What's real hot, out of curiosity?
It's not uncommon to be 100-ish.
Wow. That far north.
Yeah, we're usually summers. We're probably, it's nice when it's 80 something, but it's usually 90-ish. But no, I'm excited for when you say you did get the Neeley's.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I didn't post anything in the group or the chat. I just posted in the reloading room.
You got it set up?
No, I don't. I got to buy. I've got all I got to do is set it up. I got bottles already. I had bottles in waiting. But then I went, like I said, I told Mike earlier, I ran 50 rounds of ammo over the chronograph, and I want to run another 50 out of my SR40C, and then another 100 out of my Glock 22. Just chronographing to have the data, like I said. See, like I noticed on some, Mike, a little tidbit for you. Those mold I sold you, I ran 10 loads with that particular bullet over top of my chronograph, and the standard deviation was something like 7.8 feet per second. with that particular bullet. And even factory ammo, the best standard deviation I saw was 32 feet per second. That was Federal Hydroshock. So it's like, hey, you know what? The man said it once. I'll never forget it. I was actually flabbergasted when Mike said it. We can make better ammo. We can and we do make better ammo than factory ammo. Because it's ammo tailored to fit our guns. Factory ammo has to be tailored to fit every gun.
Yep. So, let's see. We got quite a few people in the chat. So, always a good conversation going on there. So make sure you check that out. And for tonight's cartridge corner, 7x64 Brennecke. Introduced in 1917, 764 was created by the famous German cartridge and projectile designer Wilhelm Brennecke. Following the First World War, 764 became popular in Europe and has remained so ever since. In its home continents, this cartridge is used on red deer, boar, chamois. I don't know how you pronounce it.
Chamois.
Just like the... Never mind. The case design of the 764 is almost identical to 30-06, making the 764 very similar to the 280 Rem. There are relatively few 764 rifles outside of Europe, although European brand rifles are sometimes exported in this caliber. It's common in South Africa, but in U.S., Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, rifles chambered in that cartridge are often regarded as collectible pieces. So with a bullet choice of weights, wow, that was horrible. With a choice of bullet weights ranging from 120 to 180 grains, the 764 potentially offers ample power and flexibility to tackle most of the medium game species. That said, some factory loads were available, can be a little mild in comparison to full-powered hand loads, as we were just saying. So it's pretty similar performance-wise to the 280. So, several manufacturers produce it in Europe. The most readily export is PMC, Cellier and below. Norma has one also. So PMC has got a low 170 grain soft point, which is 25 feet per second from a 24-inch test barrel. So, you know, it's one of those that it's a good, you know, it'd be a good whitetail round if it was here, but you know, given the fact that it's there, that's kind of the points out the differences between the States and Europe. Is Europe, they have a lot of cartridges that never really make it over here, and we have either similar ones or, you know, ones that would be comparable here, but they're not the same because they don't really travel well. So
it's funny because NATO designation for 30-06 is 7.62 by 63, and we're discussing a 7mm by 64mm cartridge tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're close, but not that similar because you do have a lot bigger bullet in the 30-06. So yeah, definitely more of a European cartridge. So there's a lot of information about hand loading and specs and everything we'll include in there, and it's one of those cool things. So now next time you see, you'll know a little more. So the first question for tonight came out of a conversation in the MeWe chat. And the conversation was, how does twist rate really affect accuracy? And so we were specifically talking about 5.56, 2.23. You know, the three common now, 1 in 7, 1 in 8, and 1 in 9 for your twist rate. The original M16 was 1 in 12. as was the original AR-15. A lot of your bolt guns are still 1 in 12. But, so we're wondering if you literally took the same load, whether you do with factory, or there's a couple people that are talking about doing this with a hand load, how much does twist rate make a difference? Are you talking sub MOA? More than an MOA? You know, if you literally took the same cartridge, well, not literally, because you can't do that, but the same load, and try and eliminate as many variables as possible and run it down a 1 in 7 twist, and then a 1 in 8 twist, and a 1 in 9 twist, all the same length. How is your accuracy going to vary? And I think they're going to do a 55 grain. There's talk of doing maybe a 40 and then maybe like a 62, just also to see. So, and possibly a 1 in 12. But for now, it's 1 in 7, 1 in 8, and 1 in 9. 1 in 10 had been mentioned, but I've not really seen 1 in 10 barrels. They're not really common, so.
I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was Thomas Peterson that volunteered because he happens to have 3 uppers in the AR-15, chambered 5.56, and there are 3 different barrel twists.
Right you are, Jim.
Thank you. There's your shout out, Tom. For what you're offering to do, the kind of work you got to do, you deserve a shout out, buddy.
I'm just checking the chat and see if what's everybody's commenting on. So they're still talking about the Brennicky. So, all right, gang. So that's kind of one of those interesting conversation starters. That's not, that's one if you want to send your feedback in, cool, or if you want to head over to the MeWe chat and throw your 2 cents worth, go ahead. But it's just kind of one of those conversation starters that we thought about. And once Thomas is done, then he's agreed to come on and talk about it. So that'll be a fun show. So in the reloading room, Jordan Baker posted, need some advice, help forming brass. Picked up an Arisaka Type 99 to add to his military correction collection. Sorry, that was not a Freudian slip. That was just, I can't read. Read a few articles on forming 7.7 Japanese from 30-06, trimmed down a case and applied RCBS lube and ran it through a 7.7 Japanese sizing die. Mouth sized fine, shoulder got set back, but I cannot get the entire case to feed into the die. I lack about 3/4 of an inch. Is there anything special I need to do to the die as far as adjusting goes? Or is there something else I'm missing? As of right now, the brass will not feed into the gun. Thanks a lot.
Can I insert a question for you and Jim, Mike?
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar with 7.7 Jap. Is the case head the same size as 30-06, first of all?
That's what I was going to look up.
Case head rim, because I mean, if the case head and rim size isn't the same as 7.7 Japanese, I don't see how on earth he's going to manage to pull that off. But I'm assuming because he started doing this, he probably knows more about the process than I do. I don't know why I'm asking. I've got load data sitting here.
It's easy enough to Google.
Yeah.
Well, my first thought was the Arisaka rifle is kind of infamous. What I'm talking about is some people, there were 2 calibers. There was a 6 millimeter Arisaka and there's a 7.7 Arisaka. Am I right? 7.5.
Something like that.
7.7. Okay, what I was going to suggest is that he have that rifle chamber cast, because it doesn't sound right to me. If he can't get it into the chamber, you better worry about the rifling diameter, the bore diameter. and the barrel, the chamber diameter. You better make sure it is a 7.7 Jap before you start working up any kind of ammunition for it. You might well have come up with a 6mm Jap.
I'll agree with that. To answer my former question, though, the case head at the web area looks, I mean, at least going by the data, it's supposed to be the same size, between 30-06 and 7.7. So,
good point. But I'm thinking to myself, he's trying to stuff an oversized cartridge down that board, and that is not going to work. That's one thing about it. The Arisaka action, as I recall, it's extremely strong. Because the reason why I know that I'm talking about this is there's some horror stories of guys actually sending 7.7 ammo down a 6mm barrel, and the action held true. So be careful, Jordan. Please make sure you've got a 7.7 Jap chamber, 7.7 Jap bore.
well, and here's something worth pointing out just to reinforce that concern of yours, Jim.
Yes, sir.
6.5 by 50 Japanese. The case web area is 20 thousandths narrower than 7.7. So if he's sizing his ammo for 7.7, it looks from the measurements like he ought to be able to resize 30-06 to 7.7. But if he has a 6.5mm Arisaka, then there's no way on earth that ammunition will fit. It's 20 thousandths oversized at the web area.
It's a whole millimeter. That's 39 thousandths, sir. Yeah, 39.37 thousandths. It ain't going to fit.
Yeah.
If he stuffs the cartridge down there, he won't be writing to tell about it. He's going to lose some fingers.
If that's what's going on. But I mean, it's...
Fortunately, the rifle itself is telling a story. Mr. Jordan, you have to pay attention to what it's telling you. Get that thing chamber cast by a good gunsmith. If you know what you're doing, do it yourself. But do some micrometer measurements. Make sure and get some of that casting Ceresafe down the bore a little bit, about an inch or so that you can actually get a measurement of the bore.
So one of his problems, your 30-06 has a slight taper, 441 where the shoulder meets the body to 470 at just before the rim, and the Arisaka is 435 and then 473.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that brass would give that much in the sizing die.
Right.
It's the head that would, as Phil pointed out, it's the case head that would be the issue.
Well, the Springfield's actually a little smaller. It's a 473 to a 476. So that, but here's the thing is, the reason he's probably having a problem is because that 30-06 isn't touching that sizing die until it's 3/4 of the way down the sides.
That's possible.
Well,
so you're thinking the problem is he's just not fully engaged in the sizing die until he gets to that point.
Yeah.
Where all the resistance is.
Right. I would suspect, and I don't know, I haven't bothered to look, because this is the first time I've heard of making 7.7 brass out of 30-06. But I would suspect that maybe, given the amount of Arisakas that came home, there's probably somebody out there that makes conversion dies.
Well, I mean, since it came up, I've got the Hornady manual on my phone, and in the 7.7 data section, they specifically talk about how it's common for 7.7 shooters to resize their brass from 30-06 brass. So apparently it's doable and it's a regular occurrence, but I think y'all might both have a point. I mean, at this point, chamber cast on the rifle is just cheap insurance to make sure you really do have a 7.7. And I don't know, how do y'all feel about maybe a switch from this RCBS case lube he's using to some like Imperial case sizing wax?
Yeah.
Or pure lanolin, something that's made for resizing cases, that's slicker than just normal, you know, whatever elephant snot RCBS sells. I used to use this stuff too. I just call it elephant snot because that's what it is.
You stole my thunder, Phil. I was going to boost Bork Pure Lanolin. The Imperial Case Wax or Sizing Wax, it's great stuff. I've seen it do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've been using stuff exclusively for years now, and like I keep telling everybody, the only case I ever stuck was the one that I didn't use any of that stuff on. It's very, very forgiving.
So, Mr. Baker, chamber cast that rifle, please. And make sure you get good measurements.
Yeah, and while you're at it, honestly, since we're talking about probably a 60 to 80-year-old rifle, slug the bore while you're in there. I mean, why not? I don't think Arisakas had the same issue with like Mosin that Mosins do with having a very wide tolerance for bore diameter, but with as many rounds as could have been fired through the rifle, corrosive ammo, possibly not the best maintained. If you're going to take the time to chamber cast it, and I think Jim has a good point that for safety's sake you should, slug the bore while you're in there, because, I mean, it would personally aggravate me to spend all this time hand loading ammo only to find out that my bullets are like 0.02 of an inch too small to fully engage the lands.
You just made me think of something too, Phil. And considering the fact that this is a very, very old rifle, what if it had been demilled by driving a steel plug down the bore?
I would.
Yes, I agree. Yes,
can't
That's
dismiss it.
painful to even think about, but yeah.
Well, no, I can't dismiss that as a possibility, but I would sincerely and honestly hope that this gentleman would notice a steel rod shoved down the bore of the rifle before
I
we
do
got to this
too.
point. But
Remember, we cater this show to beginners.
and that's probably a fair cautionary note, even if it doesn't apply to this gentleman, that if you are taking into your custody a rifle of unknown origin, probably best that you check it out from head to toe, make daggum good and sure that it is what you think it is, and that it's in good mechanical order. And if you're not qualified or confident to make all those judgments, most gunsmiths, I don't think, would charge you much just to check out a firearm. It's probably worth it to them to make a customer for life rather than see a guy with his hands blown off.
Yep. Well said, Phil. Thank you, sir.
And hell, if the gunsmiths in your area are jerks, I don't know about everybody else, but in my local gun range, you can't pull a cool gun out of a case without 4 people coming over wanting to know what you got. I mean, gun people are usually pretty helpful as a general rule. Maybe a little nosy, but helpful.
Yep. Yep.
So, just did some quick research, and looks like probably 90% of the comments I saw, everybody just runs them through a regular 7.7 die. So, but yeah, everybody says anneal and lube. And they say you can do the same thing with 8mm Mausers. So that'd be fun and interesting to do. Next up, in the reloading room on MeWe. Yes, the reloading room's on MeWe too. John posted, crazy question. I used to have an app that searched for the best deals on reloading components. For example, 62 grain 223 bullet, or well, 224 technically. It would give a list of, say, 10 places, a cost per box, cost per bullet, and a link. For the life of me, I cannot find it on my phone and search the Play Store. So does anybody have a clue what I'm going on about? Phil thought it was AmmoSeek.
I mean, that's an educated guess because I have an iPhone device, but I'm 99.8% sure they also have an Android app, and I can't imagine it's much different across those platforms. So if AmmoSeek isn't what you're looking for, it might be worth looking into anyway.
It doesn't look like they have an Android app, but the one that I use is AmmoBot, and they just got a new one they released, AmmoBot 2.0, recently. And so you can search for brass powder bullets. But that's kind of that. That one's more for that. I think
I have a suggestion for John, if that's all right.
Mhm.
Okay, go into your Play Store, tap the menu, the 3 bars on the upper left. Go into your library. If you installed it, it should be in your library. It's apps that you got on and apps that you have removed. Like here, I have a barcode scanner, barometer, BJ's Wholesale Club. I took them all off, but it's still in my library.
the only way it'll show in the library is if it actually can be installed on the device.
Right. If it's been installed, if it's been installed, all right, that's fine. Look in the Play Store too, John, for what you're looking for. I had to actually pull my phone up to bring up that menu.
Yeah, AmmoSeek does not have a app in the Google Play Store anymore, so it got pulled for some reason.
Probably money.
So it is still available on iPhone, and it is available through a third-party app store for Google, or not for Google, but
Third party.
yeah. If you go, I've never heard of it, but that doesn't mean anything. So as I tell everybody with the third-party app stores for Android, just do your homework and make sure you check them out. Some of them are actually pretty good. Some of them are nothing but malware. So, but if you go to ammoseek.com, they've got a link for the third-party app store, and you can check that out. So, otherwise, you can just use ammoseek.com. It works pretty good that way too.
You can use ammoseek.com on your browser right on your phone.
Yep, it works pretty good that way too.
Mm-hmm.
So, at any rate, so that's that. So yeah, basically it just got pulled from the Play Store for whatever reason. See if there's anything out there on it. Oh, they posted about it on their Facebook. Oh, violation of dangerous products policy. According to Google, we don't allow apps that facilitate the sale of explosives, firearms, ammunition, or certain firearm accessories. We also don't allow apps that provide instructions for the manufacture of explosives, firearms, ammunition, fires.
I'll hold my comments.
Obviously, they don't really pay attention because there's a ton of.
Don't tell them. Don't tell
Yeah.
them, Mikey.
So anyway,
Phil, you made me laugh, you bum.
Why, by saying hold my comments or the eye
Yeah.
rolling?
No, the comment. What you said. Yeah, we all roll our eyes. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. They're encroaching. Shall not be infringed. What part is impossible to understand?
I think it's that not.
I think they actually delete the word "not" out of those 3 words, out of that sentence phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, next.
It's just going to break their heart that I can Google it anyway. Mike has got those lamps clipped together firmly.
So, our next question. Ryan in the reloading room on Facebook. 7.0 grains of trail bros and a 44 mag is weak. Should I go over the chart or switch powders? Pretty much no brainer on that one.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, Trail Boss is a powder that's very famous for all you got to do is scoop the case in the powder, the empty case,
No.
pour the powder out, weigh it, and then you know how much powder you can put in. Trail Boss is a powder, as I understand it, that doesn't mind being compressed a little bit.
Mhm.
So it's like, it may be weak, but you know what? You better go back to the reloading chart and switch powders if you want anything more than that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I am one of those firm don't go over the book value people. I like my fingertips on my eyeballs.
Nah, they're overrated.
But I do think I may have commented, if it wasn't this, it was something similar recently. Somebody was making a comment about, about Magnum cartridges and reloading for them. And I would just say that it's become my experience with 357 and my father's with 44 Magnum that when you start reloading for some of these Magnum revolver cartridges, you really get a firm appreciation for how underpowered factory ammo is. But if you can't get enough, if you can't put enough lead in your pencil with whatever powder you're playing with, switch to another powder. Don't go over the book value.
Yep.
And if you're at max charges and you're still not putting a grin on your face, you need a bigger revolver.
500 Magnum will do that.
I'm going to tell you something. A max charge of H110 under 158 grain bullet in my 357, that put a big old smile on my face.
Fireball.
Oh yeah. First time I dropped the hammer on one, I just looked at my dad with this big stupid like,
What have I done?
oh no, I look like a lunatic.
Well, my story is similar, except it was 6 rounds underneath of the 296 or over top of 296. WW Winchester Western 296, same as H110, but it was in a Smith & Wesson. My friend made me load up 6 rounds, maximum load, right about sunset, right about now. Big old fireball, and I thought, what the hell have I done?
Had fun.
Yeah, he said, Jim, you want to keep going? He says, yep. I said, then he says, well, let's go in the house and I'll teach you to reload the right way. Found out later on, of course, he had me load up max charges. But that's a story I've told several times.
But it's a fun story.
I think that's why they invented Pachmayr grips. That and Hookham's 454 Casull Alaskan. Ruger Alaskan with 454 Casull. In a 2-inch revolver. Good on you, Mark. Enjoy, because it ain't going to be in my hands. I might handle it, I might dry fire, but I am not shooting. Nope. Next, Mikey.
Brian Shepley posted in the reloading room on Facebook. Thinking of starting to load shot shells, thinking of taking up skeet shooting, and thinking of saving some coin. In doing a search of the forum, I see Lee Lodahl and Mech 600 Jr. being pretty popular. Is there a better one? Yes.
There is better ones, but not in that price range.
Yeah. If that's all you're looking at doing is just doing some skeet, I don't know how much you're planning on doing for skeet. If you're joining a league, or if you're going to shoot competition, or you're just going to go to the local range and pop a round or two every couple of weeks. I mean, you can start out with just Lodahl 2, and all of a sudden, before you know it, you're into a one of the Mech 9000s or the Hornady 366s or the Posnos Warrens or the Dillon 900s. It kind of.
If you can find one of those, the juniors though, at like a yard sale or something, that'd be an awesome one to start off with.
Yeah, I kind of have a thing for the 600s. I got a couple.
So Mike, have you used the Lee Loadall 2?
I have one of those.
So if you had to pick between the Loadall or the 600 Junior, which one would you recommend?
If cost wasn't a factor, 600. So, if I was trying to do it absolutely as cheap as possible, then I would go with the Loadall. The Loadall comes.
Yeah, those Loadalls. Those Loadalls are very, very inexpensive, right? They're
$60.
$60.
They come with all your different size bushings for your shot and your powder, so it's not like a Mech where you got to go buy a charge bar if you want to change, and you got to go buy powder bushings if you want to change. So that's the problem with that. I mean, if you happen to find an old 600 at a garage sale, and it was somebody that did a lot of loading, it has like 6 bars and all the different bushings, game on. Or you get a good enough deal on it, and then you go buy the, I don't remember the company, and unfortunately that one's buried, but there's a company, Cabela's carries it, a couple other places carry it, that actually have a charge bar that replaces the factory on a 600, and it has micrometer adjust. That's about $60 for that. So, but then it takes a normal 600 and makes it into a lot more versatile machine. But to give you an idea of how good the Loadall can be, I took 18.5-inch barrels and made them pattern like 26. Just because I had the ability to play around with powder weight, shot weight, and everything out of a 20 gauge. So, because when the kids were shooting the 20 gauges, they had the Mossberg 510s, which are 18.5-inch barrel and a shorter length of pole. So, and I got those. I spent some time playing around with powder charge and got them to. I never changed the wad. I didn't really change the shot charge. I mean, a little bit, but not much. It's not like I went from like 1 ounce and 1/8 to 1 ounce or 7/8 of an ounce, type thing. We're just talking a small change, but yeah. If you're just looking to get into it and you don't know how serious you're going to get, Loadall is great, and you can always resell them too. Everybody, the Loadalls you have a lot better resell on than some of your like progressive presses from Mech, from Lee. So, but yeah, if you're going to get serious, you're talking progressives, and you're talking serious buying.
Yeah, those Loadalls, they're a good stepping stone. Yeah. You've been saying this in the last several of our podcasts about some of Lee's equipment and how they're good quality, inexpensive, but they do usually turn into a stepping stone. And if a guy's just starting off, that'd probably be the best. I started off on one and quickly realized that, I was into, enjoyed reloading shot shell, and you kind of move on up into something else. And you obviously did, because you have several right over your shoulder there. We can see several presses, and then there should be 1 or 2 behind you, I believe.
There's a nice big old.
You really use that as a stepping stone, but
yeah. So I was just sitting here as you're thinking stepping stone, and I'm like, Lee, the marijuana of the reloading world.
It's true.
I don't think they would think that's a very good marketing slogan, but hey.
Well, I remember I didn't know anything about it. I picked one up about shot shell reloading. I picked one up, picked up some manuals, and I was able to sit down and figure out everything I was looking at and, start loading up some shells on it, and decided that, this is something that I was enjoying, and I wanted to get into something different. So it's a good, like I say, it's a good stepping stone.
Yeah.
And for that price, you can't, that's one of the most inexpensive setups you can get.
Yeah.
Like Mike says, it comes with everything.
Yeah. It really does. So, And for those of you who are wondering what wads are and shop cups and all that fun stuff, so this is a wad. This is a 12 gauge wad that is designed to hold 1 ounce of shell or of
Shot.
So basically this slides down in. This, which is a 12 gauge hull, as a primer, just
Well,
like
looks
your
like a double A hole you got there.
maybe. What's it to you? No, you can't have it. So all shot shells use a 209 primer. However, there are 5 different diameters. Oh, let's go back to the fuzzy. That was a better picture. 5 different diameters of 209 primer. Yes, there is. So unlike metallic, where you can kind of play around a little bit with your recipes, shot shell's a little more limited. These 2 components right here are the driving force behind what your recipe is going to be. Your hull, which is what they call an empty shot shell, and your wad. And your wad is really driven by what the hull is, because there's the 2 main differences is there's a tapered hull and a straight wall. So most of the common ones are going to be a tapered. So basically, as it goes down, it gets thicker, so it gets narrower. So like when you look at this wad, this down here is a smaller diameter than this out here because it sits down in like this. And if they were the same diameter, it'd get stuck somewhere halfway down. But there's a lot of them out there, especially Europeans that are a straight wall. So then you're going to have the same diameter on your base as you are in your shot cup. So this is a convenience factor. Back in the original shot shells, this didn't exist. They had a fiber wad that went over the powder, and then you usually had another little wad in there to help absorb some of the recoil. Then you put your shot in, and then you put a card on top to cap it off. You didn't have the fold-in crimp like we do now either. So we've done a little bit on shot shells. We've done a couple of shows. When we get to August, we're actually going to do a couple. So one of these times I'm going to fire up the cameras and you're going to see a shot shell press sitting right here. So, and we're going to go through it. So we'll do that on a single stage, not on the 366. So just because it allows, even though the 366 is great and you can single load on a 366 back there. It has powder shut off. It has primer shut off. It has shot shut off. So you can literally do one shell if you want. It's just every time you pull the handle, it moves around. Whereas like a 600 or, some of the other Macs, some of the Posnus, I mean, there's been lots of different companies that have made them over the years. My dad's got a Texan, which is pretty cool. Paul Nelson's probably listing off about 30 of them in the chat right now, and I'm not watching the chat. So,
Mike, feel free to post that video that I sent you of reloading shot shells if you ever want to.
Yeah, I've got that. I gotta post that. So we'll throw that up on YouTube. So, wow, Aaron in the chat was talking about how his first shot shell loader was a Posnus Warren 800B he found for 150, and then he found a 900 for $300. So, yeah. But Loads of Bacon says that if you find a hull that has a different size primer pocket, you can actually resize that primer pocket for the smaller sizes. So, and Paul said there is a 109 primer. As I said, Paul's got something, because Paul is amazing to talk to about shot shells. So I'm going to try and get him on when we do shot shell talking. He's probably forgot more than I'll ever know. But there's a 109 primer that he mentioned, and I've honestly not ever really come across one. But yeah, so there's lots of different options for shot shells. It is definitely different to metallic. And then, and we haven't even talked about loading slugs. So, I mean, that would be the nice thing about either the 600 or, well, now he's thrown out. Okay, so in the history of shot shell loading, there has been other primers. I think there's still, for some of the older ones, there's some around, but I should say the common one now is 209. That's what your common ones use. So, although at least for 12, 20, and I've never loaded 410, so I couldn't tell you. But I suspect that they would probably, or 410 or 28 would have, 28 gauge would have different. But to find out, we shall consult the 5th edition of the Lyman Shot Shell Reloading Handbook. So, one of the nice things, they got chamber drawings and all sorts of fun stuff in here. If you're going to get into shot shells, this is a must-buy, period. So, and they got a bunch of different recipes.
You have a good point about that, Mike. You have a very good point, because I just want to point out that sounds like it's comparable to the ABCs of reloading, but the ABCs of reloading's limitation is it primarily stuck with metallic cartridges, and shot shell is covered in there, but I think it's pretty well glossed over compared to what Mike's got in his hand.
Mm-hmm. And this also has load data for lead shot, bismuth, steel shot, slugs, buckshot, and heavy shot, which is a little different than bismuth shot. So, and then it's got like the ABCs does, where it talks about the overall process. So, but yeah, and they use the 600 actually for their demonstrations. But yeah, lots of different interesting things in here. They show you different hulls. Let's see here. That's all lower gauge. Let's see if they've got a... No, they don't have... I was looking to see if in their drawings they had a real picture of like a really good taper, and they don't. So they just kind of do some basic. But yeah, definitely if you're gonna get a shot shell, get this. So definitely recommend it.
Well, those 109s that Paul mentioned, they must be, like Jim says, rare as hen's teeth, because I don't see them used anywhere in here.
Yeah, I was looking in there and I don't. I'm guessing they're probably both older. So.
Hey, Mike, do me a favor. Type in the host chat the exact name of that shot shell reloading manual you had. So while you're talking, I'll Google it on there, or I'll put it on. Look for it on Amazon. Give you a link.
I've got a link for it. So.
Okay, good. Thanks, Travis. If Mike's got a link for it, you might want to put that in the show notes.
Huh.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. That book's an absolute must if you're reloading for shot shells.
So I'm on the high road, and he says a friend of mine has some old 157 and 109 primers, and is going to give them to me. Forgot what the difference was. So 109s was a nickel plated, and the 209 wasn't. Otherwise, they're basically the same. The 57 was a Remington and Peters primer, and it was slightly smaller than the Winchester and the Federals. So there was In CCI, it was a 157 because I'm sure there was probably some trademark issues. So basically, yeah, just some different stuff. Uh, 157s wouldn't fit in any current, but if you found like some old Remington SP hulls, then they would work. So. Paul Loud said in the chat, gunbot.net is also another place to check for ammo seek, like for ammo seek and stuff. And I forgot about that one too. So, but yeah, a lot of that just depends. Ultimately, Brian, the depends is how much you want to spend. So, if you really want to get cheap and you don't want to spend time looking at garage sales, then just go ahead and grab a lead load all. They work great. Either way, you're going to wind up mounting them to something. Basically, with most of my shot shells, it's just a piece of plywood. You know, honestly, one of them is 8 by 10, and then I've got one of them that was almost like 2 foot. So that kind of different. But basically, it's just find a piece of plywood, mount it to the plywood, and away you go. You don't have to bolt it to a press or bolt it to anything serious like you would for metallic, because shot shells don't require as much pressure to reform, to seal, or anything. So, yeah, definitely. Hey, there's a load all.
There you go, Travis. Nice little show and tell thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that, just like Mike was saying, that's how I got mine mounted up, just on a piece of plywood here, and you can clamp it to your bench and move it around.
Is that
Now
the first
that is-
reloader you ever owned, Travis?
What's that?
Is that the first shot shell reloader you ever owned?
Yes.
Nice. Very, very nice.
That's just a pitch, so guys who don't know what it looks like can get a visual of one.
Yeah, because it does definitely look different than the mechs do. The one thing I will let everybody know, notice how Travis on that has that set way forward on that board. If you don't do that, your handle will catch and you cannot run it fully down. Trust me, I know these things. And I'm not going to tell you how I know these things. I'm just going to tell you I know these things. So, but yeah, it's a really nice, simple, easy to use. Yeah, and really wonderful.
Let's keep it between us that I have some Lee stuff, though, okay?
Comedy. So, are you trying to say that it's a bad thing to have Lee?
Well, I'm always bashing on them. The really cool thing about this unit, though, is, like Mike says, it comes with everything on here. And if you can see in the video, for those listening, the hopper is just like it's a hopper, but it's got like a divider right down the center. So one side has powder and the other side has shot. So it's got your dies. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's got everything just right here on the unit. You don't have to buy anything whatsoever when you purchase one. And on the top of the lid is where all your bushings are stored. So pretty much every other press you buy, you do have to go out and buy, different bushings and other accessories with it. But these Lees do come with everything you need.
Yep. Yeah, they really are, especially for what you pay for them, they're really nice. Yes,
I know sometimes they're hard to find because
this is true.
It's such an expensive and,
Yeah.
a lot of bang for the buck.
So.
Now, Mike, what was the difference between, this is the Load All 2. What was the difference between the first gen and then the 2? Is there anything to be like looking out for a guy looking for one?
Honestly, I don't think you're going to find a first gen. They're honestly so rare to try and find a first gen. But and I want to say Modern Reloading, second edition by Lee, also goes into shot shell a bit. So, I'm just gonna double check. So. Yeah, it does have a section on loading shot shells too. So. Yeah, I don't even know if you'd be able to find one. I've never come across one.
So you're saying if you do come across one, snag it.
Possibly, yeah. If it's in good shape, yeah, definitely. So, be something interesting to find out. I'm sure somebody knows the differences between them. But
I'm thinking it was the material, or if I remember right, it might be the material it was made out of, or
I'm sure that's something. Well, yeah, I don't see anything.
Well, Bacon says the camera's stuck on my ugly face while I eat this piece of pizza, so I apologize.
Lord, I apologize and be with all the starving pygmies in New Guinea. So, yeah, I don't see anything on what the difference between them is. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but yeah. But at any rate, yeah, shot shell is fun. And he says, thinking of taking up skeet shooting and thinking of saving some coin. So right now there's people screaming in their heads because they're at Walmart standing in front of the shot shell case and they're looking at the 100 packs, which are, I think, 27 or 28 bucks now. And they're going, well, that's cheap. How can I load for cheaper? Because you're looking at the wrong box. See, even with your base shot shell loading, you're going to be more consistent in your powder charge from hull to hull, and your shot charge from hull to hull, your wad placement in the hull from hull to hull than a factory one is, especially the cheap ones. So you're not making your Winchester 100 pack or your Federal 100 pack, or your cheap stuff. Wander over and take a look at the Winchester AA's or the Remington STS's. Those are the ones you're making when you're loading shot shell. Unless, of course, you're just half-assing the entire process, then yeah, maybe you shouldn't be. But if you're paying attention to what you're doing and you actually put halfway effort into it, you're making a better load. So with metallic nowadays, you sometimes have to work a little bit at it to make a really good one. But with shot shell, it doesn't really take much effort to really make sure that you're making equivalent to the AA's and to the STS's. So instead of making, $5 or $6 a box, you're making the $9 to $11 a box. So. So yes, shot shell loading, yes, you actually can and usually do save money. Especially if you're smart and do your homework on where to get your lead. So,
Well, like Mike always says, we can make better ammo for our guns than the factories can. And it looks like I might be getting beaten up. What's going on here?
no.
You're welcome, Sean.
You should mention that.
Well, if you don't mind me tooting my own horn, Sean Johnson posted in the YouTube live chat. He just throwing this out there. He called me a genius. A month or so ago, I suggested standing 9mm cases on the end and see if there's any 380 cases mixed in. What happens is, showing the camera, 9mm stands up about 100 thousandths taller than 380.
And that's definitely enough distance to see.
Oh, absolutely. It doesn't matter if it's upside right, right side down.
Yep.
It's the exact same way I sort 357 and 38 special when I shoot both at the range together.
Mm-hmm.
Stand them all up, and I mean you can pick out the shorties by eye really quickly.
Thanks again, Sean. Good man.
Hey, just real quick, while we're still talking about shotgun stuff, for guys wanting to cast slugs, you should head on over to the Reloaders Network and check out their store because they sell some really awesome slug molds from Russia. They're worth taking a look at if anybody's interested in doing their own slugs.
Yeah, there's lots of cool stuff they got over there. And that's the thing is there's a lot of awesome shot shell pages out there. And there's a lot of people that have an amazing amount of knowledge.
You know, guys, we talk about our ammunition and stuff like that, but how devastating would it be for a 730 thousandths diameter slug coming out of a barrel about 1,600 feet per second, and it hits you? It just takes your shoulder right off. It's like, just think about that, how effective that would be at the proper ranges. A lot of people have taken a lot of deer with that particular load, slug load.
Now, Jim, think if you made that slug yourself, how much satisfaction you'd get out of that.
Exactly, Travis. Well said. Mute yourself, Mikey.
No, I was just quick. I hit a couple last, so. All right, so last week on this very episode, well, not this very episode, but on this very show, we said we were going to do a giveaway for everybody in the chat. Told them how to enter. They entered. Last night, Travis and I hopped on, and we did that drawing. Daggett loads. Loads of Bacon's being a smart aleck, and he says, and you powder coat your slugs.
I haven't done that, but I'm going to do it just to spite Jim.
I don't care.
Powder coat Foster slugs.
You're not going to do it in spite of me. You're doing it because you think I care.
If you powder coat Foster slugs, I want to see that. That'll be hilarious.
I do too. I do.
All
Too.
right. So, back to the seriousness. So, Travis, do you want to announce the name, or would you like me to do it?
You do it, Mike, because I forgot his name. I'd have to pull it up real quick.
How?
I know he's a Canadian.
Yeah, we gave the dies away to a Canadian.
So I kind of lost interest at that point, you know.
Oh, okay.
Ow. Slamming one of the listeners. That might not be good.
So Jacques Charest, I think that's correct, is the one who won the dice from last week. So we have his address. We're going to get that over to FW Arms and get that taken care of. So
Congratulations.
Yep.
Nice. Really.
And
They are an awesome set, and we are doing some more, like we talked about earlier. You got to go in Facebook, Instagram, and MeWe all you got to do is put hashtag FW Arms if you guys want to be entered for those ones.
I'm going to put 6 entries in for each one, but it won't count. So I was like, maybe I shouldn't bother.
I will pay Marissa $5 to kick you in the butt.
Well, she's already beaten me on this show. We've got proof.
Hey, I figured I'd just give her an extra reward for it. She didn't.
I don't think she'll charge us for it, honestly.
I know.
She wouldn't take your money.
It's a freebie.
Yeah.
So, Brewer Bill sent us an email. He says he was listening to episode 251 and wanted to pass along that you can reduce surface tension on your water. We were talking about case value measuring, and we were talking about water, and I was talking about different things. But he says you reduce your case volume or your surface tension on your water by adding a drop or two of dish soap to your water. The only catch is then you'd have to use a container and dip your cases. So, but that would reduce a little bit of your surface tension, so you wouldn't have to worry about having such a big meniscus on the top of your case, as opposed to taking your finger and tapping on it, like Jason said. Not very consistent. So I just wanted to share that. And we have a review.
Holy jeez.
From
First off, Mike, where can people leave us a review?
Well, on your favorite podcast listener, you can stop by firearmsradio.tv/reloading-podcast, and you can leave a comment or review there. You can leave a comment on this very YouTube video. You can, that's kind of some of the ways. iTunes is a great place. This is from iTunes, and it was from R.S. Chapin. 5 stars. Excellent. I've listened to them all. I'm sorry for that, and no paper counseling. It's hard to comprehend having so much material, but it's there. And, that kind of brings me back to when I started this way back when. I mentioned to a friend of mine that I was going to start a podcast on reloading. How much is there to talk about reloading? Well, kids, episode 258. So.
We haven't scratched the surface yet.
No, and we don't go down the rabbit hole much because we try and cater a lot more towards the new listeners and the new reloaders. But at the same time, we do get down the rabbit hole, and as we get our production quality better, then we'll get a little more down the rabbit hole, because we really, if we're going to go down the rabbit hole and we're going to do it, especially the video format, we need to be able to properly represent all the different things that we're doing. So instead of just saying, well, this is what it kind of should look like, and now you can guess it from here, because it's kind of pointless. So, and probably, honestly, down the rabbit hole stuff is more served for strictly video. It's not it doesn't translate well to audio as much. Because a lot of it is detail oriented, like, when we're doing concentricity checks, case capacity. I guarantee you, sitting here with water and a scale, checking case capacity is not going to translate well to audio. So that'd be more of our regular YouTube videos. We do have a few we're posting, and we're working. Jim and Travis have got a couple that they're going to work on. I've got one I'm going to try and get done this weekend. Oh, crap. No, I can't. Never mind. Sorry. I take that back. I forgot the boys' parties on Saturday. I'm not doing squat other than that. So.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I'm a YouTube fiend. So I watch all the reloading videos on YouTube, and there's so much knowledge to gain from, guys like Jim and Jason and Mike. It's so important to get some stuff out on video. And I think I'd like to see some videos on Jim showing us how things are supposed to be done. I think there's a lot of knowledge we can gain from from having some nice videos posted on our YouTube channel.
First thing you have to do is clean off your bench after cluttering it up.
And just waiting for Jim to post some powder coating videos is going to be awesome.
Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. But if you want me to post a video occasionally on how I use thinned liquid Alox on my bullets and put that syrup, as Hookem likes to call it.
Yeah, I don't think we're interested in that, Jim.
No, you're not interested in that. We Travis and I love to twist each other's tail about that because he's trying his best to get through my stubbornness, and I trying my best to show him how much I don't care.
Well, just so the listeners know, yeah, Jim's not into powder coating, but I'm gonna force his hand one way or another. I have a package sitting over here, just waiting to ship out to him, and I'm including in that package some powder coated 4D 175 grain projectiles, just so at least he can get some in his hands.
I'll chronograph those. Send me 100 and I'll chronograph all of them.
Deal.
Oh, the only thing is, you better put it in a flat rate box. Postal people won't like you if you don't. But anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're running out of things to say, aren't we, guys, for the night?
No, I was just letting you guys go on. So, all right, gang. So if you want to contribute questions for the show, reloadingpodcast@gmail.com.
Or Reloading Podcast on MeWe, or Reloading Podcast page on Facebook, Reloading Podcast group on Facebook.
Yep.
Or the Reloading rooms.
So lots of different places you can go. If you want to send us a text message or leave us a voicemail, 608-467-0308. If you are looking to get a question answered right away, Reloading Room on Facebook or MeWe is a great place to go. So we're here every week, 7 p.m. Central, Tuesday nights. Stop by, say hi. And join in the chat. A lot of good knowledge floating around in there, a lot of good questions. So, but just want to take time to thank everyone for all of the effort that they put into giving us information. So, just grateful. So, like I said, this is 258, and we're having a blast still. So, and we're still trying to get better. So,
And occasionally we even get off topic.
never happens.
Yeah.
Anybody got any shout outs?
They should read our text messages, eh?
Mm-hmm. Anybody have any shout outs?
Did I put it in the show notes?
I don't know.
I like to just shout out to FW Arms for giving us stuff to give away to the listeners.
Absolutely.
Got a new Patreon? Or was that last week?
No, that was last week. So. All right, gang. On that note, thank you to everybody that swings by firearmsradio.tv and hits up the Amazon and Brownells affiliate links. Helps out the network. Doesn't cost you any extra money. Special thank you to all of our Patreons who help support this fine.
This channel.
I guess fine is a relative term, but support all the fun we have. And it really is fun. We enjoy doing this every week. So, if you are looking for something to read, there's a certain guy that wrote this little book. That's pretty darn good, and I recommend you go and read it. Or if you're an Audible fan, listen to it.
I suggest you get the paperback, so put it in your bug out bag for when you run out of TP. You got a little something extra. You can read it.
Oh,
Dual purpose.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
smart.
Travis. I'm gonna make sure that when I send you a signed copy, I sharpen the pages for you.
What are you talking about? I already got my sign. I got 2 copies from you, Phil. That's how much I liked the dang thing.
Page texture was a little rougher than usual. Just so you remember me.
Hmm.
I just wish the one page had your face on it.
Wow.
Wow. Hey, Phil, hurry up and rate the sequel.
But listen, my wife and my daughter were in the same picture, and that balanced it out.
Oh, you just ruined the photo with your face. That's all.
Yep.
Hey, we're incorrigible.
Everybody's a critic.
Well, hurry up
Hey,
and write
Phil.
the sequel, and I'll review it too.
I'm 56,000 words into the sequel. It's coming.
Hey, Phil. We didn't mention what the name is of the first one.
American Insurgent is the name of the first book.
Fabulous.
And when the second book drops, it will be titled American Insurrection because I'm not all that original, I guess. But it close.
Yeah.
All joking aside, it really is a good book, though.
Amazing. It really is. So it grabs you on the first page and takes you on a ride.
Goes to show you
Hard
how
to
we
believe
think.
Phil wrote it.
Yeah, goes to show you how we think.
So
You know, somewhere in this ugly mug and this shiny dome, there is a brain. Hard to believe, I know.
see, Phil, what you do is you tell everybody that your brain is so big it pushed all the hair follicles out, and that's why you're bald.
I thought it was custard pudding.
That's you.
Brutal tonight, aren't we?
So, no, seriously, go check out Phil's book. It's amazing. It really is.
It is.
So,
I won't lie to anybody. It took me a while to go buy myself a copy. I bought an Amazon copy, Kindle copy rather, and I tell you what, you hear me beating on him for the sequel. I want something to read.
mhm.
Yeah, I got 2 copies. I keep the signed one here at the house for myself, but I've been lending out the other copy to friends to read. So I do like the book, Phil. You did okay.
I'll take that. That's probably the best compliment I'll ever get out of you.
All right, gang. On that note, keep your brass shiny.
Get out and do some powder coating.
Buy it cheap and stack it deep, guys. Jim, you're muted. I didn't have to hear that to see what you said.
Yep.
Good thing it's a video, a muted video.
Oh, good grief.
Anyway, take someone shooting and reload some damned ammo.
All right, gang.
And don't say all shit when you're live.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Good night, all.
Jason.